I'm so pleased to have in the studio with us today, all the way from LA, Shana Meyerson, who is not just a yogi extraordinaire, one of the leaders of the yoga community, but also the host of her own 2 podcasts. Welcome so much.
Thank you so much. I have to say host of one, co-host of the other.
Co-host of one, host of the other. I hear you. And Shana, this is not the first time you've been in Israel, even since October 7th. But, you know, you have an extraordinary story, and it's almost like a story I keep hearing in different fields. You were one of the leaders of the yoga community. So tell us a little bit about how that happened, and then how you were essentially ejected after October 7th.
Do you have all day?
Yeah, we've got some time.
So I've been involved with Israel, first of all, for decades. So I've been a yoga instructor for 24 years, like now, and probably involved with Israel, quite honestly, for about the same amount of time. And my thing that I always used to do was, because I taught all over the world, was that wherever I was teaching, I would make sure to say blah, 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 Israel, blah, 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 like just in the middle of teaching, like doing my own little hasbara. So people would come up after and be like, Israel? Like what? And
you would normalize
that's right.
your connection, your engagement.
That's right. Maybe I would be talking about how Israel was the highest per capita vegan in the world, or the thriving yoga scene, or the best food, or whatever it was, just to create positive associations. And that was all well and good. You know, I was doing it more just because I like to do that. And the first time, Fleur, that I received any pushback was in 2014, which seems to be a real inflection point when the social media sort of went crazy.
Yeah.
And even in LA, it's when protesters started showing up, wherein before it was all pro-Israel. And then all of a sudden, 2014, and I received an email, because I posted something about Israel, from a very, very loyal follower somewhere in Europe. I don't remember. Switzerland. Doesn't matter. Fill in the blank.
You teach all over the world. You teach online, I assume.
Yes.
So you're well known in that community.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And so I have, loyal followers. Like the quad has loyal followers.
Yeah.
Groupies. And she sent me this email saying, that she'll never talk to me again, and she can't believe that I would support Israel, and she's going to block me. And I'm like it really, I was shocked.
This was 2014.
2014.
Right.
And that was the first time. And it was weird. It was honestly weird. But ever since then, I mean, literally that minute, I don't mean 2004, but that minute, then it started coming. But of course, it all reached a crescendo after October 7th. And
so what happened? We all woke up to that terrible day. Some of us were scared for our lives. Some of us were just shocked and traumatized by what was going on. When did it start becoming real for you in your profession?
Right. So I was known in the yoga community so my company is called Yoga Athletica, and I used to do what were called yoga athletic causes every single month. And what it was it was an Instagram fundraiser, always for like a different cause. Now, most people on Instagram are posing, handstands in a bikini on a beach, and here I was every month doing a month-long fundraiser. And so I was sort of that person that was like the do-gooder.
The do-gooder in the yoga community.
So we raised hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then October 7th happened. And I'm like, of course I have to do a fundraiser this month for Israel.
And I assume you've done everybody else's causes by now.
Including enemies. Okay, I don't have to get into it, but every earthquake, every flood, every tsunami, everything you could name, every
you were raising
disaster.
Money, anything going on.
That's right.
Okay.
And I was a hero for that.
Okay.
So on 10/7, of course, I knew I had to do one, but then I'm like, what if no one shows up? Because I was well aware by this point, since 2014, what was going to happen. And I didn't want to disgrace the victims by having a thing where no one showed up. So two of my Jewish yoga friends contacted me on October 7th and said, of course you're going to do a fundraiser, right? And I'm like, I don't know. Do you think people will do it? And they said, Shana, you just have to do it.
Yeah.
So I did. On October 8th, I launched a fundraiser for Magen David Adom. Now, Fleur, here's when you say where's the pivot point. So it was actually my second most popular fundraiser right behind Ukraine, I have to say. But I got a message from, again, like I'll call her a groupie, like somebody who, liked
Followed.
every single post and commented and DM me all day and whatever. Lebanese from somewhere in Europe. Somewhere in Europe's a big thing with me. I think she was in Germany.
Yeah.
And she emailed me, DM me, whatever. She said, I'm going to donate to your cause. She said, and then I'm going to block you and I will never speak to you again for supporting Israel.
Why would she donate then?
Because I think that if you're human, October 7th was an atrocity no matter how you looked at it. And we're talking about hours after. We're not talking about 3 weeks after.
Or when we went into Gaza. People were already condemning us before we even went into Gaza. So you did this on the 8th of October. You raised money. But then when did the backlash to you and your career and your standing in that community, when did that start?
So let me first flash forward a few months where I decided to do another one for anti-Semitism, because after that I decided I'm never doing another fundraiser for anything other than an Israel or a Jewish cause. I just realized that we were alone and it's time for us to stop tikkun olaming ourselves to death, and we need to take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
So I did do an anti-Semitism fundraiser about 3 months later, and about 5 people showed up, all Jewish. Keep in mind, usually it was hundreds and thousands of dollars.
Like this is a physical event that you do.
No. So what I would do is I'm a little, like I could do all the things, right, that you've ever seen in books, wherever. So I do some crazy pose, and basically I would say, try to copy this pose. And if you do, I'll donate $1 for everyone who does this pose for a month.
Nice.
And then I would have certain people who would match my contribution.
So challenge, yoga challenge post.
Yes. So that was the format. And nobody wanted, all the people who put on a black square for Instagram, right, did not want to. I wasn't even asked them to do a blue square. Just say you condemn anti-Semitism, but that was a bridge too far. So social media is the basis when you're a yoga instructor. It's how you get your students. It's how you get your gigs. And so as of 10/7 and to this day, I haven't posted anything other than Israel, except for my YouTube, which is, videos about yoga. But my Instagram, my Facebook, my X, just 100% Israel. So, the Zionist baby killer comments came in pretty strong and fast. I mean, my thing is, I delete everyone. I'm just like, block, delete, block.
You don't want negative stuff. I hear you. I go through phases. Sometimes I laugh at the comments because they're so absurd and moronic. And sometimes I delete. And if somebody's trolling me, then I'll delete. Some people who just put loads and lots and lots. But in terms of the yoga community, what happened? Were you kind of pulled aside and told, Shana, if you want a career, let it go with this Israel thing?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say that. Because I've always been a private instructor, so there's I'm not affiliated with a studio per se.
But you were part of this organization.
So it was people writing bad ththings about me on the internet, making ridiculous, do you guys have Yelp here?
Yeah.
Okay. Writing ridiculous Yelp reviews about, because I also have a kids business about don't let your children near this woman because she supports the genocide of babies. And, it came from all ends, and it was just a function of everybody, blocking me, writing mean things on my wall, telling the world bad things about me, using my likeness to, for slurs. And I guess it's no surprise that the far left world, right, behaves this way.
Would you have
the yoga world?
Would you have considered yourself part of that kind of progressive world? I know you're a vegan.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a very strict vegan and have been for a long time. It's a hard question to answer because a lot of baggage comes with that label of, but yes, I used to consider myself to be like everybody, right? Into human rights and in all the left of center causes. And now, I mean, So I have the second show, a paratrooper and a yogi walk into a bar with Andrew Fox, and most people would think of the two of them, who would be the one on the right?
And it's you. That's so funny.
Yeah. So of course I
They
come.
shoved you there?
Yeah. 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 It's funny. I had this confrontation with Yoga Alliance that we could talk about if you want to. But
Yeah.
yeah. And they literally told me, well, you might want to reconsider being a part of this community.
Yoga Alliance, for people who don't know, is the main organizing body for yogis around the world.
Yeah. I mean, you register as an instructor or a studio. They say that they have 300 million members, which is
Wow.
almost the size of America.
Yeah.
Right? It's no small, and that doesn't include just students, because everybody's a yoga
So
instructor.
who came to you?
So they decided to do a feature on Angela Davis.
Right.
And so I emailed them. I'm like, are you aware that she is a raging anti-Semite? I put it in more diplomatic terms, right? And they ignored me. So I went to a friend who has one of the WhatsApp letter writing, groups. And they did a letter, and we sent in 7,000 letters. And so they got back to me. And I had a one-on-two conversation with people in their strategic communication. So it was just me with them. And I mean, it was so offensive, Fleur. It was like, we denounce all forms of hate except anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
They basically said it in
We
words.
saw that very clearly with the universities and the hearing they had when at least Stefania couldn't believe what she was hearing. And that seems to be the theme. We're against all hatred, but
Yeah.
Jews, it's open season.
Exactly. And so,
And you had this experience at this meeting.
yes.
And how did they justify it?
First of all, they did. So what was the worst thing that anybody could say during Black Lives Matters? Do you know?
I don't know. My best friend is black.
Well, okay. So the worst thing anybody could say in America for Black Lives Matters was all lives matter, right? Because it's like, no, we're talking about Black people here.
Yes.
It's like, okay, fine. Black lives do matter because all lives matter, but whatever. So anyway, these two women, all they could say to me is, well, we don't approve of any kind of hate. And I'm like, you won't. I had asked them explicitly to denounce the anti-Semitism in the yoga world. And not only did they say they wouldn't, they said, well, we denounce general hate in general. And then I said, well, I'm asking you because
hatred against Jews.
Yes, because they do. They condemn not anti-Semitism. They explicitly condemn every kind of hate and bias you can imagine, beyond things that you could even imagine. Like, they even did a thing on sensitivity training for people missing limbs. I mean, I'm telling you, they do the thing, the fat shaming, the Black, the Asian, whatever. Not a word about anti-Semitism. So when I said, will you condemn it? And they refused. I'm like, I don't understand. You don't have a problem with Jew hatred? And they're like, well, we don't support anti-Semitism.
It's the most they can say. Well, give them a medal. They don't support anti-Semitism, but they won't condemn it.
Yes, exactly. And it was, and when I said that I wanted them to speak up against it, they just kept saying, well, I don't see. They said, well, there's a big problem with anti-Blackism too.
And you condemn that.
Not only did they condemn it, but that's not even a word.
No, of course not.
Right? It's like the Islamophobia.
Yes,
like
yes.
When,
the myth of Islamophobia.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or that, Kamala Harris needed to create an Islamophobia commission right after 10/7. It's like, okay, guys, let's focus on what's actually happening in the world today, because anti-Blackism is not the topic at hand.
Right. So they couldn't do it. You left the meeting and thought to yourself, these people are lost. They're gone. It's over.
Yeah, it was sad. It was just a meeting of the intersectionality, and they used the word so many times too. And it was just such a weird beating around the bush, trying to be PC conversation that was so brutally offensive. The best one, Fleur, the best comment that came out of that actually was that I said, so you refuse to condemn anti-Semitism within the yoga world? And they said, well, you have to understand, we have people on both sides.
Okay.
I said, you have people on both sides of anti-Semitism, meaning you have people who
Support it?
support it and people like it was.
What do they say? Did
So,
they not hear themselves, or they just got so
Well,
brainwashed already?
well, then they got into this whole thing of, well, we can't talk about anti-Semitism without talking about the war. I'm like, great, bring it on.
Okay.
I will inform your masses about the war. We're talking about terrorism here.
Yeah.
And we're talking about the world of love and light. Like, it sort of seems like there would be a disconnect there. They refused that too.
Mm.
So they could not decouple anti-Semitism from the war, nor could they address the war.
Right.
And I said, why are you? So this was my Elise Stefanik moment. I'm like, what? Are you afraid that if you condemn anti-Semitism, you're going to lose members? And these two women just sat there like,
They couldn't answer.
literally for like a minute or two. Then finally one of them said, I'm at a loss for words. And the other one like just sort of agreed. I'm like, this is a no-brainer, right? Like, even if two people hated Jews is worth speaking against, but we have people like calling for our death on the streets. This is a problem.
And they still have to figure out whether that's hate.
Yeah.
So where do we go from here, Shana?
Yeah. Can I be pessimistic?
Yeah, of
Okay.
course. We'll still find the silver lining in the end.
I have to be honest. I don't know where we go from here because
You're an American Jew.
yeah.
You grew up in America. You're born in America, grew up in America. You know, what I find is, as a European originally, that Americans are very shocked by this anti-Semitism because there was never, ever a tension between being an American and being a Jew.
Mhm.
It was all part of this kind of melting pot, and how America was. Culturally, being Jewish was accepted. I'm talking about in the last
Yeah.
half, not when the Jews first got there, of course, there was discrimination. And I think that for people like you, it's way more shocking than for people like me, who are kind of a little more cynical because we come from Europe.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts now? What do you do? Well, how do you move forward?
Yeah.
So be pessimistic.
Yeah, no, I mean, my pessimism lies in the rot of the internet, of social media.
Right.
The problem is that, as far as I'm concerned, and I know I'm not alone in this, October 7th was never about massacring the Jews or even about whatever genocide they had hoped to commit. It was
Yeah.
about launching a delegitimization campaign
Yes.
against world Jewry. And those pieces were in place before this all started.
Yeah.
The internet is now infected with a disease for which there's no inoculation. And I actually, so on my show, do you know David Bernstein? He wrote Woke Anti-Semitism.
Yes.
He's brilliant. I love him. So he's been on my show on Yoga of War twice. And last December, 1 year ago, I contacted him with a premise that I believed that the anti-Semitism was going to increase, not decrease, after the war. And so
You were right.
he took me on. Yeah, we spoke last January because he's the optimist. I'm the realist.
Oh, yeah.
And in fact, he's coming back on my show in about a week to revisit that conversation. But sure enough, I mean, the rhetoric has gotten more violent, not less violent,
Yeah,
since the ceasefire. And so
And it's now infected the right. We saw it very prominently on the left. And in the last few months, especially since Charlie Kirk's assassination, we've seen it rising on the right.
exactly. So
That is
realistic / pessimistic me is like, I can't see where or if this ends, because this is a global campaign. And even with the bots, I mean, they're not going to stop. We've got bot farms. So the stuff that, so you're saying you see stuff on the internet that's so outrageous, but what's more outrageous is that people believe it
and follow it and like
repeat it. Yeah. And so I think that, I mean, for me, Do you believe in God? Do you believe in messages from God?
Yeah, of course I do. Yeah.
Yeah. So God does not want me in the yoga world anymore, for better or for worse. After, a 25-year commitment to this community, it's not my community anymore. And he blew out my arm and shoulder I mean, blew out, like it hurts just sitting here. And I do believe that we get messages. And it's time for me to be with my people. And I don't just mean that. I mean, it turns out that it is Jews, it is Israelis, but more than that, it's humanity, it's people who share my morals and my values. And I always thought the yoga people
Well,
were those people.
well, they were infected by the woke mind virus, which to me today, when I see what's going on, when I see in the last 48 hours that there are people like cheering and protesting in defense of an evil narco dictator,
Right.
and when the same people were on the No Kings March 2 months ago, I just think these people are literally zombies
Right.
and they are part of a cult. And I think that the yoga community, like many of these communities, have been infected by this cult and things have to get worse before they get better. But I do ultimately think that they will get better.
See, you're the optimist.
I try to be.
But here's the problem. I mean, to be honest, this isn't just hate. This is genocidal hatred.
Hmm.
We're talking about good people who aren't just saying like, "Oh, I think Israel is doing bad things," or even, "I think Jews are bad people." These are the good people of the world who are literally calling for death to the Jews.
Yeah.
Like words that I wouldn't even say
Yeah.
to my worst enemy.
People, when they wonder how the Holocaust happened, I always say,
Right.
well, here you go. This was Goebbels did a very,
Yep.
very deliberate campaign. People were brainwashed. The scapegoatism has been a feature of anti-Semitism for thousands of years. And this we're back here again, even though humanity seems to have advanced, but they haven't really advanced when it comes to hatred.
Yeah.
And it's very sad. But Shana, thank you for being the person who's calling out in these spaces that very few dare to go,
Yeah.
and for standing for your people, for being a champion of your people, and for bringing good conversation, intelligent conversation about these things into the world. It's been a pleasure having you here.
Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure to be here.